Hi, Phil Aston here from the Now Spinning Magazine podcast and YouTube video and website. I'm so excited. I can't even get my words in the right order before I even start. So cool, chill, Phil. Okay. I'm so privileged and happy to have in front of me today for this interview, Deborah Bonham and Peter Bullock, who've recently renamed your band, the Bonham-Bullick Band. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Good to meet you, Phil. Great to see you.
Thank you. Now, for those of you who are new to these superb artists, Deborah is a sister of the late John Bonham from Led Zeppelin and has released a series of acclaimed albums over the years. And Peter Bullock is a fantastic guitarist who seems to channel seamlessly Roy Gallagher and Paul Kossoff in his playing, but he also has his own style. Both of them were also on the Paul Rodgers Free Spirit tour, which went around the world, accumulating a gig at the Royal Albert Hall, if I've got that right. It's absolutely superb. So I'm absolutely delighted to have you both with me. And you're currently on tour at the moment, aren't you?
We are, yeah. We've got we've been on tour since about April. It's quite a gentle tour. We'll sort of shoot off for sort of 3 to 5 shows or something, then back home for a couple of weeks, then off again. Next week we're up in
Scotland,
Kinross.
Backstage at the Green.
29th September, 30th of September we're in Newcastle, which was we're at Trillions Rock Bar in Newcastle.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Newcastle was a favourite for us with the Free Spirit and Paul Rodgers because,
of course, yeah,
almost like a homecoming gig for Paul Rodgers, and the audiences were fantastic there when we played there.
Excited about it.
Yeah. So it's great. We're going there sort of on our own bat, albeit a bit more intimate gig, but you know, we sort of came up in the sort of club and bar gigs and stuff of the 80s and things, and it's you know, that kind of idea that you can like have a beer and a chat with the audience before and after is you know, it's
I think
quite
warming. It works better after, I've got to say.
Oh yeah.
Not before. Things go a little wrong if it's before.
Yeah, so we've always had a great time in Newcastle.
Yeah.
We've been up there a couple of times, twice with Paul Rodgers, and we were with Nazareth once. We toured with Nazareth and Sensational Alex Harvey band, all in Newcastle.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think this is
Scotland.
Yeah, so I think this is the first one that we're doing on our own in Newcastle. Then we follow that with Hull on the 1st of October.
Oh, you're pretty excited about Hull.
Well, Hull is the hometown of Mick Ronson, who's another guitar hero, Les Paul slinger. Yeah, and amongst my Gibson Les Pauls, I do have one that looks like Mick Ronson's Gibson.
Yeah. Oh wow!
At their custom shop.
I thought you said it was Mick Ronson's.
Crikey! I would have to employ security.
You mean you've gone on and on about this story to me, and all it is just a lookalike?
It's not a lookalike. Gibson actually made a custom shop model of Mick Ronson's. They took his guitar in and they.
Don't worry, we can always edit this part out.
Yeah.
And my Paul Kossoff.
It's a lovely guitar.
Yeah.
My Paul Kossoff Les Paul isn't actually Paul Kossoff's. I hate to break the news to you.
Okay.
Well, it looks and sounds fabulous anyway.
I hate to tell you, but my tambourine is actually John Bonham, so.
Oh.
But I don't take it on tour.
I'll have that on eBay in an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, this album, which I've reviewed for my channel already, and I just absolutely love it. And it's a collection of blues, rock, and soul covers. When I did my review, I missed out the word soul in many ways, because as I thought about it, and when I did the review saying that it didn't follow the path of what I would expect to be a blues rock album. What I mean by that is, because of my vintage, and when people say, oh, it's a blues rock album, I go, oh, I'm almost going to expect what it's going to do. It's going to do this, then this, then this. Your album doesn't do that. It's the sequencing of the tracks. I must ask you about that, because it's just sublime how it's almost like if an album could be a film, this is like perfect. It just starts and finishes beautifully. How did you go about choosing the songs? Because some of them are quite obscure and they're not that well, but they blend so well together. How did you plan this album?
It's a difficult one because, we were doing the Paul Rodgers tour and we were thinking about doing a new album, but, it's difficult. You get to a certain age and you've got to get the right record label. And we've had quite a few, record labels. And anyway, we did the Paul Rodgers album. And as you showed it, the live at the Albert Hall. And the record company who put that out came to see us with Paul Rodgers in America and just were blown away and said, let's do a record. And it was at that point that I just thought, I don't want to just do a Deborah Bonham record. This is about the band because it's always been about the band, it always has. But it's just always had my name. But I said to Pete, no, I want to do something different. And I don't want it to be the songs that I've written because I want us all to come to the table like we're all new to the table with this. So nobody had the advantage of knowing the song and where it was going to go. Whereas I probably do when I write the material and then I give it to the band, and they put their thing on. But I sort of pretty know where it's going to end up. So I said, let's do an album of covers that are steeped in the blues, but some contemporary, some which is of my love, sort of soul-y, sort of, that sort of thing as well. And I just started looking for songs, and a guy who was helping us a lot at that point, Gary Nesbitt over in New Jersey, he said, I think it's a great idea, Deb. And he started sending some songs. I put a whole load together, and then Roy Williams, who was Robert Plant's out front sound engineer for many, many years. He even tour managed Robert for
and childhood pal as well.
And childhood pal, yeah.
In fact, Roy and Robert's fathers cycled together in the the Stone Age, I think.
Wonderful, wonderful man, proper black country guy, And he went, all right, Deb, I'll have a look, because he knew the band. He was just so gorgeous. Sadly, he passed away during COVID. But anyway, he sent me a load. So I had must have been about 150 songs, 100 odd,
Wow.
And, but I just knew in my head where I wanted it to sort of go. So I went through all these songs and it was quite easy because I know the band so well. We've been together, 30 years. So I was able to just go, I know we can do something with that. I don't know what yet, but I know we can. And I just picked the songs.
There's a G7th augmented diminished in that song. Pete will never get his fingers around that. So scrap that song.
So, yes.
Out the window, over the wall.
And it wasn't a hard job, I there's so many great songs, but what I didn't want to do was go down the route of many albums like this that people choose all those songs that have been done, and I just thought, no, I've got to be careful here. I don't want us to just be another, oh look, they've chosen all the regular blue type of covers. So, but I just wanted one in there that we could turn on its head, which is the Albert King song. Yeah. I wanted to give Pete something to really get into, and that proved quite a difficult song for you, didn't it, really?
It did, because, basically, the original, there's Albert King's playing on that. It's just right out there. It's crazy. So it's like, and it's everything I would want to do. So it was like pointless me doing it because Albert's done it. So that's when you face the first problem. You've got to do something knowing that it's not going to be that. So. And I don't know how I was. I did.
Well, that's when the production came in, because I said, "Look, I don't want to do these the way they've been done. They've been done that version, the best of that version it's ever going to be, because Albert King did it. So we've really got to dig deep. We've got to bring us to it in a different version, but what's us, but have that total respect for the original as well. I didn't want to go too far crazy with it. So we just wanted to bring our soul and our passion to it. And once that had clicked in everybody's head, it worked. And nearly every track started with the drums, because once we got the rhythm right, the rest came. But it was finding a way to sort of, like with Trouble Blues, the version I've always listened to is Sam Cooke.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Sam Cooke fan. And because when Pete said to me, "You've picked Albert King, you know, and I'm expected to play something that Albert King's done," I said, "Hey, you know, we're doing Sam Cooke, we're doing Ann Peebles, you know, we're doing some great artists here, so we've just got to dig deep." And again, with Trouble Blues, it's I just had to strip it all the way back, just go, okay, everybody stop playing, let's just do the drums. And we just...
You actually sent us all over to the pub.
Did I?
Yeah. She says, "You lot,
good idea. On. Yeah.
Just go over to the pub, cool off," and her and the drummer stayed there. Marco Giovino.
So it pretty much everything started with the drums, and then once I was happy with where the rhythm was going to go, we were able to bring the band in and go, okay, now this is a totally different rhythm. You've got no preconception, so you bring whatever you're feeling to it. So that's how it all sort of came about.
Well, I think you're absolutely right by saying it's not like, because a lot of people seem to do these kind of blues tribute albums or whatever. And, you know, sometimes the vocalist can almost over-egg or over-exaggerate what they feel a blues singer would be doing. And the guitarist who's trying to be restrained, well, in the last few bars before the singer comes back in, will put in as many notes as they can possibly find from the guitar. And what comes across with your album is obviously everybody is listening to each other, or was listening, you know, because I spoke on the opening track, the way the interplay, it's almost telepathic. I mean, I know you probably weren't all in the same room at the same time, but I think that a good musician is someone who can also is a good listener, and so you can tell from the way that Peter, you're adding those guitar lines. You've obviously listened to the vocal delivery before, and it's a question answer kind of thing. I just think it's wonderful.
I think with us being, it does get a little bit telepathic. You know, certainly on stage it does, because we've all played together for so long, and we all know what we do. And we all know that sometimes we'll just push it out somewhere.
Yeah.
And I know instantly.
Catch it, literally.
Yeah, that's good. And I know instantly if someone's not listening, because it doesn't get caught. But that's so rare, because the whole band, everybody sort of really tunes in. As soon as we're on stage, we tune in. And that it was bringing that into the recording studio, which was, you know, okay, we're going to take it off the stage, we're going to bring it in to the studio and have that same, you work around what he's doing, what, you know, and it worked really well. I was very proud of them. Definitely.
It does. It's like, I think I said in my review, it's like an atmosphere that it's like late at night and I've poured myself a single malt whiskey and I'm in some imaginary bar somewhere and the lights are dim and you're playing some on the stage and these songs are just like drifting out across the room. It's just, that's what I think about the sequence in the whole album. It will certainly be in my top 30 albums of 2022. It's superb. Now, this telepathy you have between each other is probably also to do with the fact that you've been together for over 20 years. How did you meet?
30 years.
30 years.
I think it's 32 years this year.
32 years. Wow.
Yeah.
I know.
So how did you meet 32 years ago?
There's a mutual friend's wedding.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a bar band in London, Paddy Goes to Holyhead, and we do all the old haunts, you know, even the old Marquee Club and the Hippodrome and all that, and then the way down to the old Greyhound bars and Swans and stuff. And it was our gift to the newlyweds was we provided the entertainment for the night. So it's full of sort of liquid hospitality and everything. We proceeded with this set, which was sort of full of, a bit of Thin Lizzy, Georgia Satellites, and you know that right old sort of rock sort of
knees up stuff.
Rocky blues.
And we got guests up so from the party, you know. So Deborah was one of them, and the nephew Jason Bonham, he was there, and who else got up? Was Jason there?
I don't remember Jason being there.
Crikey, it shows how good he was.
I have to go through the wedding photographs.
Yeah, he might have been. But anyway, so that's how it happened.
So we got Debbie up and everything there. Funny enough, that my amp had been cutting in and out that night. At the very end of the show, I picked this sort of Marshall 100-watt valve head up in the air and threw it against the brick wall at the back and smashed it into tiny pieces.
Wow, it's proper rock and roll wedding. Yeah.
And then set fire to my hand to light a cigarette for Deborah.
In the days when I smoked, oh my goodness.
In the days
when
everybody smoked, yeah. And I went to the Marshall factory to get the amp fixed, and he says, and he had a look at it. They smashed the smithereens, all the wooden box, but all the mechanicals were together, and he tested them all in the factory. And he says, "No, Pete, it's working fine. Have you got the mains lead that you were using on the night?" I said, "It's in the car." I went and got it. Plugged my mains lead in. There was like a loose live wire. That's all it was.
Oh, dear.
I smashed the whole...
He's never been allowed to smash them since.
No, I'm not surprised. So
I don't know what happened, but we ended up together. And that was that.
Smashing.
So quite soon after that, I guess you started to work together. And was the first album you made The Old Hyde in 2004? Have I got that right? Yeah.
Yes.
It was actually first released in 99, was it?
Yeah. No, but yeah.
And was Jason on drums on that one?
Yes.
Jason Bonham?
Yeah. He was. He did I can put that record on now, and the drumming is phenomenal. Yeah. That was produced by a guy called Mo Foster, bass player, producer. We recorded the drums in your hometown in Birmingham. So Rich Bitch
Studios. Yeah.
I recorded all the drums there and Jason Bonham cost us a fortune in sheep kebabs. I think we ordered something like 75 sheep kebabs from Celine's in Ladypool Road from the Balti House.
I kept telling him, "Don't worry, Jace, it'll be a mega hit and I'll pay you loads." Bless him.
Yeah, and Mo Foster, the producer, he played with Jeff Beck group and he's played on lots of things since the late 60s.
So, Deborah, a lot of people will be aware of you because of your late brother, John Bonham, and Led Zeppelin. But while Led Zeppelin were taking off, you already had a keen interest in music and started to write your own songs. Where do you feel your love of music came from? Was it your brother or your mum and dad's love of music as well?
It's mum and dad's love of music, but it was definitely my brother John and my brother Michael that guided me through all the Motown, the blues. I mean, my dad loved all the blues, female blues singers. He particularly loved people like Mahalia Jackson and Sarah Vaughan and all of that. And they both of them loved the big bands, which is where John got his love of Gene Krupa. So John used to just the drummer. John would play Gene Krupa. Of course, yeah. Mom and Dad would play the Benny Goodman band all the time, and Gene Krupa was the drummer. And John absolutely loved Gene Krupa. So, yeah, Mum and Dad had a big part in it, definitely. They weren't musical themselves, but they had a huge part in music was just in our, music was just always in our house. Always.
They gave you that swing from birth.
Yeah, it was always that swing.
But that swing is all because interesting that John was in the jazz. It kind of drummers influenced him, the same as Ian Pace from Deep Purple and Bill Ward from Black Sabbath, were also from a jazz background, really. And saying your two brothers like loving soul music, again with Paul Rodgers and all these great vocalists were brought up on blues and soul singers. Exactly. And great guitar players have all got that feel, like yourself, Peter, that blues feel in their playing.
Well, I mean, we had so much music in our house. It was quite eclectic as well, because John and Michael, especially John on this one, John was a big melody guy as well. So he would play anything from James Brown through to the Bee Gees. He loved harmony, he loved melodies. So my love of harmonies and how they work from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young,
brilliant.
All of that, Joni Mitchell, all of that sort of musicality was always being played in the house. So, yeah.
In fact, the only harmonies on a Led Zeppelin record have been sung by John Bonham.
Yeah, they were.
Were they?
Yeah. On Houses of the Holy.
Yeah.
He did a few, he'd do it live as well, you know.
Yeah.
There's some lovely footage of him and Robert live.
And Peter, for you, obviously Rory Gallagher and Paul Kossoff were key influences, and as you mentioned, obviously Mick Ronson. But when was it or what tracks or albums was it that drew you in to feeling their playing was what you wanted to follow or emulate in the beginning?
Well, it was back. It's usually brought on by my aunt and my uncle and stuff. They had we'd have babysitters quite a lot, so they'd come and bring the record collection and stuff, and they'd arrive on motorbikes with records and stuff. So I spent a life of sort of blues, rock, and motorbikes and stuff. And Bad Company and Free were the big ones in the house. So I just got absolutely immersed in. But the first Free record was actually the last one they made. So I got into them backwards in a way. So it was the Heartbreaker album I got first in a second-hand record shop, because you were restricted money-wise then. You had pocket money, which made and pocket money usually equated to you could either buy a single every week or an album once a month. You had to make that decision. But whenever second-hand record shops,
singles.
Did you?
I bought when I was about 7. I bought My Brother Jake.
You did?
I did.
Oh yes, great, yes. Great, yeah.
So when the second-hand record shops opened up, I was in heaven. I could go in, once a month. I could go and get 3 or 4 albums, and then if there was a birthday and you got birthday money,
you put them on your list. Yeah.
I remember the 11th birthday, I came out with like 11 albums from this shop, and they were like, there was a compilation, Free and Easy, Rough and Ready. Yeah,
great album. Yeah,
and
great introduction.
Bad Company first album, Straight Shooter, Wish 'Em Well. Highway, and God, I can't remember what but that was it. I was locked in my bedroom for those 100 months after that with my guitar, with this big stash of records.
Yeah. And so, and I think tell me if I've got the date wrong, or it's 2008. You released an album called The Duchess, and this is one where you duet with Paul Rodgers.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, we had opened up a tour for him. And we then became close friends. We worked on various animal charities together, and like this with his wife, with Paul's wife Cynthia, beautiful, beautiful woman. And we were doing this album, and I just thought, what's the worst he can say is no, not this time, Deb.
Yes,
anyway, he didn't. He said yes, I'd love to do it, because we duetted live. He called me on stage. Because Bad Company were a big thing for me, because, of course, they signed to
Swan Song.
So I knew Bad Company inside out. And although when I was little, I bought My Brother Jake, as I said, I didn't actually then get into Free. So I did it the other way around. I was totally immersed in Bad Company, and then I went back to Free. But I told Paul about when Bad Company brought their single out, Can't Get Enough, and Swan Song was signing them. John had us all sitting around the TV. They came on Top of the Pops, and John got us all around. Right, okay, Bad Company are on Top of the Pops on Thursday night, so I want everybody in the lounge, everybody down here. And we all sat around and watched Bad Company do this, and he was just so thrilled. They're signing to our label,
Oh, wow.
that sort of stuff. And I told Paul this, and Paul was just thrilled, because Paul loved John. They were close. And then he came to the dressing room, and he said, "Listen, do you want to come and join me tonight for Can't Get Enough?" And I was like, "Okay." Okay. So, crikey, I've got to walk out on stage with Paul Rodgers. And that was the hard part, because he said, "Now, look, I'm going to be on stage already. I'm going to do it will start. But I want you to walk on for the second verse."
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go, "Ladies and gentlemen, Deborah Bonham." And I went, "Oh, okay. You mean I can't just come on?" And he went, "No, I want you to walk on." And that's it. I'm such a klutz, and this man is the coolest of cool. He just walks, he's all cool and everything.
Yeah.
He doesn't just sing cool, he walks cool.
He walks cool.
Yeah.
Everything he does is cool.
Can I tell this little bit?
Yeah, go on.
So we're backstage in the arena. Paul's already on stage on his show and stuff. And the tour manager says, "Oh, where's Deborah?" Says, "Oh, she's just practicing." The minute, "Oh, what practicing the words about?" No, she's practicing her walk. Said, no, she knows the song. She can sing the song. It's he's having trouble with.
Oh God! Honestly, I was like, no, I've got to just walk on cool instead of like running on, But anyway, it all worked out great. So I walked on, and I managed to keep an air of coolness about me. And we did the song, and it was just fantastic. So we'd already duetted. And then we did it a few times more in different songs. And so then I thought, well, I'll ask him. And if he says yes, it's great. And if he says no, well, I didn't lose any,
Yeah. And this must have then led to you being part of the Free Spirit project.
Yes. I mean, I think a lot of that for me, because Paul was over in Canada at the time, I was able to rehearse the band, and I sang all of Paul's parts. I'm a pretty good Paul Rodgers mimic now, actually. I really got quite good at it because I was in the studio with them, just running the songs really, and doing Paul, just singing it all and getting the band really tight. So that sort of was my input for them. And then Paul was like, well, I really want you to open up as well. So that was a difficult one because it was the first time I'd really, for years, I was working with another guitarist.
Yeah.
So it was a bit sort of, I was like, oh, how's that going to work? But it did. I worked with Dougie Boyle for the UK tour, and Dougie played with, I'd known Dougie for years. He'd been on the old Hyde album.
Yeah.
He was Robert Plant's guitarist. And I then went back to...
He's another great guitarist. I've nicked a few licks off.
Amazing guitarist. And that was just phenomenal. So we did the UK one with the Albert Hall. And then for the American tour, I worked with my dear old friend Ian Hatton, who I've known since we were 16, from my hometown, Kidderminster.
Yeah.
And he played with Jason, of course, in the Bonham band. So, yeah, it all worked out really, really well.
And Ian Hatton, Tat as we call him, that was playing with Deborah when she opened on the American tour. He also played on the Paul Rodgers Muddy Waters Blues album in the 90s.
Oh, right, yeah, I've got that. Yes, that's a great album.
Paul in the 90s took the Jason Bonham band, basically, and used them for the Muddy Waters album, and then had lots of guest guitarists. So that was the base.
Right. So he's done it before.
Yes. He kind of must have thought, oh, God, those Bonhams don't have a good band.
Yeah. That was good. It was amazing. I mean, it's one of my highlights of my life, being able to sing with him and other artists as well. But when you get on stage with somebody like Paul Rodgers, you suddenly think, wow. And Pete was able to get on stage with Paul Rodgers, Robert Plant, and Brian Johnson at the Oxford show, weren't you?
Yeah, they turned up at one of our shows and asked if they could get up, and Paul
asked if they could get up. It didn't work like that.
You know what it's like. Like Morecambe and Wise, you've got that harmonica player that keeps coming on. Not now, Arthur. Well, when Robert Plant says, you can't really say "not now, King Arthur."
Not now, no. Maybe tomorrow. Yeah.
So,
of course, it didn't work. It did not happen like that at all.
No, we'd been talking. We were on the tour bus between shows and stuff, and we told Paul that Paul Rodgers that Robert Plant had been on the phone, said he'd like to come to the Oxford show, and Paul said to me, "Oh, ask him if he wants to get up and do a song." So.
Fantastic.
He went, yeah, go on then. So the song was suggested, and it was
Money.
Yeah, and it's funny, I don't think he realised that the opening line was, the best things in life are free. And seriously, I thought this was all a bit, that's a bit cheeky. Nobody realised. So there we are, Free Spirit Tour, and we've got Paul Rodgers, Brian Johnson of AC/DC, and Robert Plant, and there they are opening up. The audience went mad when we brought them
they
on.
would. Yeah,
It's a total surprise.
Yeah, nobody knew, so it was
brilliant.
No rehearsal or anything. It was just a call and a brief arrangement over the phone.
You mentioned, Peter, on your new album that you were obviously playing guitar on an Albert King track, and you were thinking, oh my God, it's Albert King. How did you cope going to be on stage with Paul Rodgers playing songs like Mr. Big and The Hunter and all these classic, and all that audience sort of being focused on the fact that you were taking the part of Paul Kossoff? How did you cope with that?
He had a old swagger. That's what he did. It was more on that. It was more in Walking My Shadow, wasn't it? When Paul said to you, how do you walk on every night, Pete? Like that. You had to walk on your own, didn't you? And
each night I had to come on my own and do a little intro guitar bit. So in the American tour, I would come on to the Muddy Waters Blues song. So so I'd start as I'd past the monitor desk, and I'd just walk across the stage to this bemused 30,000 people thinking, who the hell's that? And I'd just I'd walk from the stage side to side, and then all of a sudden they'd all erupt into applause, and that's how I knew Paul had just walked on behind me. It was silent when I walked on. You could hear a pin drop while I was doing, which was lovely, and then it was like, and then we'd bang straight into.
It was a mad tour, because I would open up on the American one, followed by Ann Wilson. So I've got to stand there and sing in front of Ann Wilson, and then Pete's got
knocking at the door. Better just
that's okay.
Pete had to then play in front of Jeff Beck, because Jeff Beck was on the tour as well.
Wow!
So the pair of us were like, wow, this is something else. It was amazing. But we both did it, and both Jeff and Anne were just lovely to us. They couldn't have been more gracious. So yeah, it was good.
Gosh, that must have been amazing, because that was the Star Aligned tour, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, Stars Aligned.
I don't think you need to open that now.
It's just funny we're talking here, because this has just arrived in the post. That's what the door was.
Yeah.
I think what time
And what is it?
Oh no, it's not. Oh, I thought it was. We left a Free Spirit hoodie at a hotel after the gig in Halifax the other night.
I thought he might have just appeared live.
Yeah, I thought we'd just flash that up. No, it's not.
Absolutely fantastic. So, going back to your current album and your current tour, how many of the songs from this album are in your set list at the moment? Is it
quite a few now?
Yeah,
quite a few.
Yeah, and we're adding another couple as well.
We're adding 2 more, aren't we? So so
it'll be 6.
We do See You Again, Leading Muddy Water, which is gosh. I mean, both of them for me are just amazing live, but Bleeding Muddy Water has just become something else. It's really...
that is probably my favourite track on the album.
Oh, yeah.
We've just had a lovely live review from Blues Matters magazine.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And he picked up on Bleeding Muddy Waters as well.
I think live, it's suddenly... It's
got a hell of a lot of dynamics and light and shade.
It's fantastic, isn't it? I love that.
And drops and
there's that thing that especially Free, where there was in a specific part of the songs, and this is classic Paul Rodgers, and this is going to lead into you two guys, is that you go through the verse, chorus, guitar solo, and then whereas most songs would just disappear, in a Free song it would almost as if Paul Rodgers just let go of the rail. And he just starts to improvise, and then Paul Kossoff will just weave in amongst the words, and it would just go on. Be My Friend is a good example, I suppose. They would go on, and you felt as if you don't need to fade this. Just I'm happy. Just keep going. Yeah. Your album does that in loads of places where it's almost as if you let go of the script, and it just.
I think
organically just flows. Do you know you're doing that? Is that part of what?
I think. I think it's just in us, because you know, there's two major bands in our lives, apart from all the, I mean, James Brown was a great one for that as well. But, you know, apart from Otis and all of the other, everything else we've talked about, there's two major bands, and one is Led Zeppelin and one is Free. And I think
and
that's
Rory Gallagher used to bring it down to a pin drop as well. He could like grab you.
It's just in our DNA, really. It's in our soul. We don't think about it and think, let's do that. It just naturally happens. And on Bleeding Muddy Water, when we'd recorded it and I was sort of, you know, mixing it, I thought, you know, this has got shades of Zeppelin's No Quarter on it. It just had that sort of vibe going. Did not envisage that happening, but it's just this stuff comes out, you know, because it's in you. And I think that...
There's something else, just remember when Paul Rodgers was interviewed about the Free Spirit album live at the Albert Hall. He was saying about how he loved playing with this band because they could bring everything right down to a pin drop and all that. And the funny thing about that is he was so impressed that we could do that. And I think, well, actually, it's just because... We learned from you in the 60s and 70s to that. And there he was, wow, how do you guys do that?
Learned it from the masters.
Well, we listened to you 50 years ago, Paul, you know.
Yeah. That goes back to that, the telepathy between you both, isn't it? And the fact that you're, as musicians, you're listening. Because obviously in the live setting, you're having to listen to what's happening, like a musical conversation, isn't it? Especially when you go to the improvisational part of of any track.
You know, we'll quite often live take it somewhere else as well, just because it's of that minute, and you think, I don't want to come in on that verse now, you know, because the music is sounding so great, and then we just hold it, you know, and it's great. Yeah, they're a phenomenal band. It's an honour every night to sing with them, you know.
Yeah, because not a lot of musicians or bands can do that. That would freak people out if someone suddenly thought, I'm not going to come in for this bit now. I think we'll hang around here for a while longer. That would just be, what? But no, I think that's, again, it's the style of music and your heritage.
Part of it's the mischief as well.
Yeah.
So we can have fun as well. We'll
mix
it up a bit on stage to check everybody on their game. You know,
Dougie did that with me at the Albert Hall.
Yeah.
Do you know that bit in the Albert Hall? Dougie and I were doing a song off my our Spirit album, and he took it off in this fantastic type of flamenco sort of acoustic stuff that he was doing. It was just phenomenal, but I couldn't find the one, and I didn't know where he would.
We're watching from the side, thinking, "Oh my God!"
It completely went, and it was just
the chances of both of them coming in at the same time together in the right part are pretty slim.
And did we?
Bang! Just
wow.
Wow. It was in. It was, but I did have a bit of a. Okay, that was great. But it's seat of your pants stuff. And when you've been doing music for that long, I mean, to just do it like this, you know, it's music by numbers to me. It's got to keep the energy going, and it's got to keep that sort of excitement about it.
Yeah, you need that sense of wonder and playing with the edge, isn't it?
Well, the thing is,
you think, whoa, that was, you know, everything's going in you.
No two gigs will be the same because of that. So, I mean, if they were all the same, then, I mean, it was the same when we were playing with Paul Rodgers, and you were asking about playing Paul Kossoff's parts and stuff. Paul Kossoff never played the same thing twice.
I don't think Jimmy Page did.
No, I totally agree. I don't think they did. And I think that's the beauty of, if I buy, or anyone, you buy an album and it says it has some outtakes, and you usually think, oh, I'll listen to those once because I probably won't be able to tell the difference between the outtake and the finished product. But when you listen to an outtake from Free, it could be 7 versions of Be My Friend, but they're all different.
Yeah.
Not only is Paul Rodgers' delivery different, but the guitar's different. It's how they felt at that point, isn't it?
I think that's why Paul gave me kind of free rein in Free Spirit, because we'd supported him on tour and we played with him, so he knew my playing, and he knew it was not going to be the same every night, and he knew I don't have the memory capacity to memorize everything Paul Kossoff did, but had the kind of
but that it
the
wouldn't have
spirit or
been
the
right.
feel
No,
of it.
it wouldn't have been right, because you say the true spirit of blues and soul music is it's from the heart.
It
and
is.
It's how you emotionally feel now, isn't it?
And
That's how the music comes from.
Exactly.
I took enough of Paul Kossoff into my heart when I was a child to that it just that I can't help sounding like him every so often.
But you don't copy it, and you don't you play like you, which is you've got a little bit of everything going on in there as well.
And then there's also the other thing where there'll be maybe some melody lines that Paul Kossoff or the original artist and whatever you're doing would have used, and you think, well, that's quite an important melodic line. You should keep that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, things like I don't know, the All Right Now guitar solo. I mean, even Paul Kossoff stayed virtually 75% true to that recorded solo. I would say,
Yes, yes, I know what you mean.
So there's certain things are actually got some musicality, melody that you want to repeat. So.
Now, you see, I can see an album behind you. You've got physical graffiti on the floor there.
And you don't know what that one is, do you? That's Backstreet Crawler.
Backstreet Crawler.
Yeah.
You know what that one is? That's...
No.
Yeah, because the album has it's not like, but it has a kind of vibe of Second Street by Backstreet Crawler, that kind of smooth soul, R&B, bluesy type feel. But you have got your own. Although I can feel the influences of all the bands we've talked about in this podcast, you have got your own sound and your own feel. And
it's a bit of a mix of everything that we've always loved.
Probably because I'd maybe throw in a bit of B.B. King or Peter Green or I think there's even somebody said there was something sounded a bit Dave Gilmour-ish on that album as well. So
people are always going to say
but yes, that's what we listen to. Is
but any guitarist or any singer that they mention when they think about both of you will be someone whose background comes from soul or blues, because of the feel that you have in your music. And so I think that it's part of the lineage, it just rolls back through the decades, really. Mm-hmm. So with all you mentioned at the start, you had like over 100 songs to choose from to put this album together. I suppose an obvious question would be, that must mean there's at least enough for a second one.
I think I picked the best of what we had. And I picked 13 thinking we'll probably end up with just 11, but all 13 worked.
They do.
I probably will go and have another listen.
Yeah.
The dogs always get in on the action.
Biting our ankles.
I will go back and have a good listen. But I think if we do another type of album like this, I might explore some more as well, and just because.
Or could there be a kind of a live album from this tour?
Well, that's you hit the nail.
Funny enough.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I think that's what's going to happen next.
Especially as you've mentioned, that Bleeding Money Water has taken on a life of its own.
It has.
My first thought, I'd love to hear that. That a live album. Especially as because you've changed the name now as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're seeing this as a new beginning. Is that what's part of the?
Yeah.
Name?
I think I just decided that it's always been about us. It was just I was Deborah Bonham when he met me, and I was already got an album out, so it just stuck like that. But it's always been about us, so it made sense to me to change the name. And it's not just a girl singer, it's not just some girl singer getting up playing some tunes that she's written. It's this incredible band. So I really felt that now. Yeah,
it's like with just a girl singer name, you probably don't expect to have sort of the musical dynamics of the drummer, the bass player, the keyboard player, and the guitarist and stuff. Or is that so?
Yeah, of course.
We've been doing a couple of free songs at the end for encores.
I have you. Which ones do you do?
We've done Mr. Big. Mainly because
give our Ian, the bass player,
gives you a chance to stretch out a bit. Yeah.
And we've done The Hunter, haven't we?
Yeah. That's it. Good. Nice sort of a little tip of the hat and a thank you to the audience for
the Hunters
sticking with us. And plus, a lot of the audience have seen us as free spirits. So so it's a bit like, well, thanks for coming along to this one as well. And here's a couple of tunes from the other things where you would have seen us.
I still can't catch the mic though when I throw it up, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's probably a totally different thing, isn't it? I mean, Paul Rodgers has been doing that for so long. He has a way with a mic stand, doesn't he?
Gosh, doesn't he? He's just brilliant. He's absolutely phenomenal.
And she's rubbish at kung fu as well.
Oh, I don't know. Just try me.
So what I like to do is obviously try and make it as easy as possible for people to find out more about your album and where they can come and see you. So where's the best place for them to go to buy your albums and to see you live?
To buy the albums, they're at all the regular online retailers and stuff. We have a couple of boxes of them on the road with us as well, so they can buy them at the gig, and then they can get us to scribble our names on them if they want, or anybody's name of their choice.
And what's the website to go to find out your tour dates? And
DeborahBonham.com.
Okay, I'll also put this in the description tag so people can click straight on it.
And there's Facebook pages as well.
Facebooks as well, Deborah Bonham
and Peter Bullock.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Peter Bullock one's a bit sillier. The Deborah Bonham one's a bit. I might post something of what I'm drinking or what I've cooked or something, or what stupid thing I've done that day on it. But
people are just as interested in what motivates today's musicians.
It's like, Paul, look at that motorbike, or look at that car.
Look at that lovely horse. We need to rescue it. Let's go and rescue that donkey and that dog.
Well, thank you both very much for giving me your time this morning to talk to me. And this is certainly an album that everybody should listen to. It's one of my albums of the year. And I wish you all the success for the forthcoming dates and whatever you do next as well. It'd be really interesting to see if that live album does emerge.
I think it will. We're in the planning of that right now.
Oh, brilliant.
Hence adding a few more songs into the set.
Yeah, we've got that'll be for the first time next week.
Yeah.
There's 2 new songs.
Yeah.
One of them is the track on there, It Ain't Easy. And and Bowie did a version of that with Mick Ronson on guitar. Oh. So one of the the kind of inspirations for throwing that in was because we're playing Mick Ronson's Hometown next week. So, it'd be nice to play on the Mick Ronson guitar, play Mick Ronson's part.
Except it isn't Mick Ronson's guitar, is it? So remind me why we're doing it again.
And the rest of the songs I'll be playing on Peter Green's guitars, Paul Rodgers' guitars, and B.B. King's guitars.
Yeah. So everybody's guitars.
I've got an Albert King Flying V as well, so I'll maybe smoke a pipe.
Yeah, of course.
For a show, so she won't let me smoke a pipe on stage. Look how cool he is.
Anyway,
is he the only man that can?
It'll just set off all the sprinklers and everything, and it'll ruin the merch stall or something. So, so
ruin her hair. That's what she'd be upset about.
Yeah. Well, take care, both of you, and it's been lovely to talk to you. And hopefully, I'll talk to you again soon when you're working on your next project. So, thank you.
Thank you so much for the support. It's been great.
Absolutely, anytime. Absolutely love the album. And see you soon. Take care.